Look around you right now. Someone who might be less skilled than you is achieving more. Why? Often it's because they project absolute certainty. They speak without a flicker of doubt. They carry themselves as if they intrinsically deserve every opportunity. And the world, in turn, often validates that projection. Meanwhile, you might find yourself pausing, overthinking every single step, waiting for that perfect moment, the exact right words, the ideal feeling before you act. And as you meticulously prepare, someone else steps forward and claims what could have rightfully been yours. True conviction isn't merely a personality trait, it's a profound force. And if you don't cultivate it within yourself, the space it leaves open will inevitably be filled by someone else. Ancient strategists and leaders knew this truth centuries ago. Those who act with bold resolve often advance, even if their inherent abilities are still developing. Those who hesitate, no matter how brilliant their ideas, often remain in the shadows. Because influence isn't solely granted to the most capable, it gravitates towards the most unwavering. This video marks a significant shift. It's not about fleeting motivation, nor about superficial comfort. It's about deep, internal command. You will learn to eliminate hesitation, to communicate with undeniable authority, and to move with a presence that naturally commands respect. Pay close attention, because from this moment forward, your moments of doubt will no longer be indulged. They will be transformed. You were not born with hesitation. It was cultivated within you through repetition, through seeking rewards, through conforming to rules. You were conditioned to follow, to seek approval, to constantly ask, "Is this acceptable?" What often holds you back now is an inner voice, conditioned by past experiences to seek permission, programmed to defer. An inner critic that recoils at judgment and waits for an external nod. That voice in your head, the one that pauses, that overanalyzes, that almost apologizes before speaking, that isn't your authentic self. That is the echo of old conditioning. And until you master that inner critic, you will never fully unleash your potential. Leaders throughout history didn't just suggest, they acted with conviction. They didn't wait for perfect understanding. They moved, and others eventually caught up. They didn't ask for influence. They embodied it, understanding that true impact comes from resolute action, not mere petition. Your personal revolution begins with an inversion. Every time you feel the urge to shrink, choose to expand. Every time you want to over-explain, take a deliberate pause. Every time you might feel inclined to apologize, hold your gaze. Because truly impactful confidence doesn't stem from feeling completely ready. It comes from taking action that defies your old patterns. You walk with purpose. You occupy your space. You stop habitually nodding. You stop softening your tone. You speak as if your words are decisive statements, not tentative suggestions. Confidence isn't just a mindset, it's an embodied identity. And that identity is forged through internal courage, not defiance against the world, but against the version of you that still seeks to serve external expectations. So here's a core principle. If a thought, a habit, or an interaction makes you feel diminished, it's time to release its hold. If it causes hesitation, confront it directly. If it attempts to weaken your resolve, consciously reject it. If it yearns for universal acceptance, rise above that need. The world might encourage you to always be pleasant, agreeable, and mild. But here's a strategic truth. Individuals who only seek to please often become tools. They are utilized, then set aside. Truly influential individuals are not merely nice. They are precise, thoughtful, self-aware, and strategic. And this transformation begins by quieting that persistent inner voice that still craves external approval. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You need only one thing: the unwavering willingness to become formidable to yourself. For when you master the inner critic, your true inner leader awakens. Before we dive into the powerful strategies, if you're ready to transform your inner game and command more respect in your life, hit the like button and consider sharing this video. Your support helps others find their inner strength. Command your presence. Powerful individuals don't announce their arrival with noise. They arrive with a palpable presence. This isn't just in their voice, but in their stillness, their calm observation, their steady gaze. You don't need to be universally known or liked. You just need the entire atmosphere of a room to subtly shift the moment you step into it. That's how someone moves when they embody authority in a space. Not because they were told to, but because they behave as if it's always been their natural state. Strategic minds throughout history understood this in circles of influence. The ones who truly steered outcomes weren't always the most vocal. Sometimes it was the individual who spoke sparingly, but when they did, the entire group leaned in. Silence is a form of command. Do you believe constant talking makes you influential? Often it makes you predictable. The composed individual is the one who holds a subtle power, because their intentions remain internal. When you enter a room, you don't seek permission. You don't glance around for validation. You observe. You absorb. You allow others to rush to establish their position while you strategically assess. Your posture communicates before your mouth utters a sound. You move with deliberation, not from uncertainty, but because you are in no hurry. Those in true command move with purposeful intention, not frantic haste. Most people don't even notice how quickly they move, how fast they speak, how often they interrupt, because they are still trying to impress, still operating under the shadow of someone else's judgment. But when you walk in radiating self-possession, you don't speak to impress. You speak to decide. Every sentence carries a sense of finality. Every word lands with the weight of a conclusion. People begin to listen differently. They don't challenge you. They subtly adjust their own stance in relation to yours. And when others speak, you listen patiently. You allow them to express themselves fully. You let them reveal their aspirations, their concerns, their subtle vulnerabilities. Because the one who speaks first often reveals their underlying intentions. And once you understand that, you gain a strategic advantage. You don't chase their energy, you create a gravitational pull. Because confidence at this level isn't about being universally liked. It's about making others reflect on their own position simply by being in your presence. So carry yourself like someone who has already secured their victory, not with arrogance, but with the quiet assurance of someone who doesn't need to compete, because they have already chosen to lead their own path. If they respect you, that's positive. If they don't, that too holds its own strength. Because an indifference to external approval is the ultimate expression of self-possession. And if the room wasn't undeniably yours when you entered, by the time you depart, they will recall it as if it always was. Not because you demanded it, but because your presence made it so. Speak with unwavering conviction. Words are not just sounds. They are instruments of influence. And many people speak as if they are requesting permission to exist. You can identify them instantly. The rising tone at the end of every sentence, the nervous chuckle, the endless, I think, perhaps, I'm not entirely sure, but they speak as if apologizing for taking up space. That is not communication, it is self-sabotage. Strategic leaders understood this truth. Influence doesn't always reside in what you say, but in how you say it. And when you speak with unshakable conviction, people don't just analyze your words. They respond to the weight of your certainty. Because this is the dynamic. People are not purely logical. They are deeply emotional. They don't just follow facts. They follow unwavering belief. If you sound sure, they tend to assume you are correct. If you hesitate, they often assume you are not worth listening to. So, what does a voice of command sound like? It is deliberate, calm, definitive. You speak as if your statements are not open for discussion, as if each sentence is a clear directive. You speak like someone who already expects their words to carry weight. It doesn't matter if you're in a room full of experts. If you sound like a decision, they will often defer. That is the first rule. Sound like the conclusion, not the introduction. And here's what many will never share with you. You don't need to speak often to be respected. In fact, the more you say, the more opportunities you give others to dissect your message, challenge your stance, or, critically, to undervalue your strength. Speak less. Ensure your words carry more significance when you do speak. Eliminate softness. No filler words. No unnecessary explanations. No apologies. Never utter phrases like, "I'm just saying," or "I could be wrong," or "I don't know if this makes sense." These are escape routes for uncertainty. Remove them from your vocabulary. State what you mean and let it stand. Let others process the silence that follows. Because silence after a strong statement holds immense power. It subtly challenges people to respond. And most will not. Why? Because they're subtly compelled by the strength of your conviction. Now, grasp this. The tone of your voice is your true message. The actual words are the surface, but your tone, your calm, grounded, deliberate tone, communicates your position in any dynamic. You want to rise? Lower your pitch. Slow your tempo. Eliminate nervous energy. Sound like someone who has nothing to prove and everything under control. Sound like an individual who has already made up their mind and expects the world to align with their vision. You don't prevail in conversations by being louder. You prevail by speaking in a way that makes people feel your words are not mere suggestions but undeniable facts. This is how leaders communicate, how strategic minds articulate, how individuals of influence command attention. And if someone challenges you, never defend. Instead, calmly redirect. Don't argue, don't over-explain, don't justify. Simply state, "I see your perspective and I maintain mine," or, more directly, "That is an incorrect premise." And then gracefully move the conversation forward. Because when you decline to engage in a debate, you signal something unshakable, that your conviction is not open for negotiation. That is how you guide a room without ever raising your voice. Because confidence isn't about volume, it's about gravity. It's the unseen weight behind your words. The inherent assumption that when you speak, others should listen. When you speak, the room should feel your presence. Not through noise, not through arrogance, but through unshakable resolve. You're not just trying to be right, you're speaking like someone who operates from an unassailable truth. You're not just trying to be heard, you're speaking like someone who understands that agreement will naturally follow. That is true influence. Master your inner world. Confidence without internal command is merely an outward display. You can walk tall, speak eloquently, move with authority, but if someone can still disrupt your composure with a single phrase, you are not truly powerful. You are vulnerable. This is where many individuals falter. They develop strong external presence and articulate speech, but their inner emotional state remains easily influenced by others. A subtle hint of disrespect and they react. A compliment and they become overly receptive. A moment of silence and they spiral into self-doubt. You are not truly liberated until you master the internal landscape, the one within your own mind. And that begins by redefining your inner identity. Historically, strategic thinkers understood this dynamic in centers of power. They didn't fear external adversaries as much as they feared internal dependency, emotional or otherwise. They didn't rely on fleeting affection. They cultivated internal self-command. Because once people perceive what truly affects you emotionally, they know precisely where to exert pressure. And once they know where to apply pressure, you lose your strategic advantage. You become manageable. And those who are easily managed often lose their effectiveness when their immediate utility diminishes. So here is the transformation. You shift from being someone who primarily reacts to someone who thoughtfully assesses. Someone offers an insult. You don't engage in defense. Instead, you observe. You gather information. What is their true objective? What insecurity are they trying to conceal behind their words? Someone offers praise. You don't instantly soften. Instead, you analyze. What is the intention behind this compliment now? Someone ignores you. You don't panic. You maintain your composure, becoming even more focused. Silence becomes your strategic tool, not a source of discomfort. This is what it means to become psychologically self-possessed. Not emotionless, but unshakable. You permit yourself to feel everything, but you act on nothing unless it serves your overarching objective. When someone attempts to test your boundaries, you don't retaliate. You show no visible discomfort. Why? Because your inner world is not a public forum. It is a fortress, and you alone decide who gains access. That is how you cease to be manipulated. Many are so easily influenced, it's almost effortless. Tell them they are not enough, and they will over-explain. Tell them they are remarkable, and they will chase that external validation. Withdraw emotionally, and they will seek desperately to reconnect. This is not influence. This is predictable programming. And until you rewrite that inner code, you will always be susceptible to external forces. So how do you redefine your inner operating system? You release the compelling need to be understood. That is often the root vulnerability. The desire to explain yourself, to be seen, to be validated. It's what makes you susceptible to influence. Let it go. You don't exist to be perpetually understood. You exist to move the world around you strategically, precisely, with clear intention. You conquer the fear of rejection. Because a self-mastered mind doesn't chase acceptance, it manages access. You want others to recognize the significance of being in your sphere, and you master the habit of reacting impulsively to emotions. Emotions are real, they are valid, but your response to them must be strategic. Feeling anger, channel it as focused energy. Feeling insulted, use it as an insight into their tactics. Feeling doubted, respond with calm silence and let your future actions deliver the undeniable reply. This is how truly impactful individuals are forged. They don't become robotic. They become undeniable. Because once no one can sway you emotionally, they can only observe you move with precision and deep respect. While others pursue fleeting peace and external understanding, you cultivate clarity and unwavering self-command. Because the world doesn't primarily respond to how you feel. It responds to what you project: certainty, clear direction, and an undeniable presence. And when your inner identity becomes unshakable, you become a formidable force. Not because you are aggressive, not because you are loud, but because you are self-contained, emotionally resilient, They cannot provoke you, they cannot tempt you, they cannot shake you, because you belong only to yourself now, and that is what makes you unforgettable. That is what defines a legend. Not fleeting noise, not external fame, but profound inner stillness, sharp clarity, and relentless consistency. You don't need to announce your profound transformation. They will perceive it in your deliberate walk, in the measured tone of your voice, in the powerful impact of your presence. Even in your absence, you will become the individual others observe quietly. The one who once chased now finds himself sought after. The one who once asked for permission now makes decisive choices. The one who no longer needs external approval, because he has become the internal standard. So no, this was not just about superficial confidence. This was about deep self-mastery, mental, emotional, psychological. You are not here to merely conform. You are here to strategically influence, to reshape the environment around you, to leave a lasting impression, even in profound silence. Because legends don't plead. They don't over-explain. They simply exist. And the world naturally reshapes around their presence. Final invitation. Like this video. If you're ready to stop chasing, subscribe. If you're prepared to become the kind of individual they can't control, can't predict, and can never forget, because this isn't just self-improvement. This is an internal revolution. And you are becoming unstoppable.